Welcome to the County Compass, Columbia County's guide to news, voices, and perspectives, hosted by County Manager Scott Johnson. This podcast is your behind-the-scenes look at what's happening in county government and across our community. We'll talk about the services, projects, and decisions that make Columbia County a great place to live. We're glad you're here. Thanks for listening to the County Compass. Now, here's Scott Johnson.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the County Compass, the podcast that keeps you connected to the people, projects, and progress making Columbia County one of the best places to live, work, and raise a family in Georgia. I'm your host, County Manager Scott Johnson, and today I have the distinct pleasure to be joined by yet another guest, my good friend Ray Blessing. Ray is the chief of our EMS services and over all things medical as it relates to the fire department. Chief, welcome to the podcast. We appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, yeah. And we go way back, right? I mean, we go way back into the day. I was working in law enforcement. You were working fire department, working EMS way back in the day. So I think a lot of our listeners may not really realize what Columbia County does as it relates to EMS. We know we have a fire department. We know we have an ISO 1 fire department. We're very good at what we do, but we also do the EMS piece. So today we're going to dig into that. But before we do that, tell me a little bit about you, Ray. I mean, I know, but I want the listeners to know who you are and what you've accomplished and what got you to where you are today.
Okay. Just my personal background. I was born in 1964. I'm 62 years old. So I'm a baby boomer, right at the tail end of the baby boomer generation. I was actually born in Tacoma, Washington. My dad was in the Army when I was born. So as a military, I grew up as a military kid. He did 20 years in the Army. So I grew up as a military kid. We traveled every 3 years. Probably the most notable station we were at was Berlin, Germany.
Oh, wow.
During 1976, 1979, which was the height of the Cold War. A very tense time between the United States and Russia. But as a 12, 13, 14-year-old, we were keenly aware of this tension between the two countries, and it was evident every day. But anyways, that was the most notable station we were at in the military. We came here to Fort Gordon, or came here to Augusta through Fort Gordon. My dad was assigned to Fort Gordon in December of 1981. In the middle of my senior year of high school, I finished at Richmond Academy in 1982. In high school. So got married pretty young, a couple of years out of high school, married. I've been married for 41 years now. We have 2 kids, both boys. Are both grown. They both have kids of their own. I have 3 grandkids, 16, 13, and 10. My daughter-in-law actually works in risk management, Taylor. The risk management folks are a little squirrely, but anyways,
Hey, keep you guys safe, man. They make sure you're not climbing the ladder wrong.
I know they're important to the county, but
right,
they're a little squirrely or whatever. But anyways, so we have grandkids, which if you have grandkids, they enjoy that. It's huge, So, but in my, I work a lot, obviously, but when I'm not working. If you're a homeowner like I am, we have a home in Crawford Creek off Herb Farm Road. We've been there since 2009. But if you're a homeowner, there's always something to do at the house. So I like to be outdoors. I do not like to be indoors. I like to be outdoors. So I cut grass, trim bushes, pressure wash, paint, whatever, My mom and dad live here in Evans. I try to help them with their house as well. So that keeps me pretty busy. But when I'm not doing that,
You actually have a job.
Yeah.
When you're not doing all those fun things, like you're not chasing grandkids, you're not cutting grass, taking care of parents. Sure. Yeah, you actually have a job. So tell me how you got, what drew you to the fire service, and how did you get to the fire service, and how long you've been doing that, and then how did the EMT part for you come apart? Or paramedic? You're a paramedic now, but how did that come about?
Kind of interesting story. My dad was actually a paramedic for the Columbia County Ambulance Service. Columbia County had their own ambulance service.
I remember those
for a number of years.
Yeah.
That was the 80s into a good part of the 90s.
Yep.
But my dad was actually a paramedic there, and my oldest son was about 3 at the time. I would take him over to the substation to visit his grandfather. and just see what they do. And they were in a little single wide trailer behind Station 2, the firehouse behind Station 2 on Gibbs Road.
I remember those days.
Yeah, so you may have hung out there.
Yeah, I did hang out
there was a pool table there, and I know
Yeah.
some of you law enforcement guys used to play a little pool, and the sheriff knows all about that as well. But anyways, I would take him there. So one night I was visiting Dino Cesarini, who Dino. He was working that night.
Great man.
He said, "Hey, he didn't take me on a tour of the station and show me the trucks, but his partner did. But before I left that night, he said, you ought to come and volunteer. You ought to think about that." So I took that to heart. I put in an application, started volunteering. The very first night that and I tell this story all the time, and as corny as I'll get out, but the very first night that I pulled duty, back in those days, we used to take our pants and put them over our bunker boots, our boots, and flap them down. Anyways, we put them right beside the bed at night. And so if you got a call in the middle of the night, you would just get up, step into your boots and pull. Man, I honestly thought that was the coolest thing in the whole world. I really did. That was the coolest thing in the whole world. But by the second or third time that I had volunteered, we actually got a structure fire one night. I wasn't there very long. We got a fire. It was off of Furious Fair Road. I'll never forget it. It was an old house. We pulled up, was pretty well involved. And of course, we pulled the lines off and put the fire out, did the salvage and overhaul. And it was just the sweating and the getting dirty and the work part of it. I love that part of it. That's part of the attraction to me. But when we were leaving, we were getting on the truck, and back in those days, the cabs of the truck were open, and I was in the back of the cab, obviously. When we were leaving, it was an older couple standing there, a husband and a wife, and they were literally standing there with the clothes on their back. That's all they had left.
Right.
Nothing else left. And that just left an impression on me. I can see that image in my mind right now. But so anyways, that was my start into the fire service, was as a volunteer, and loved putting my boots by the bed, and this fire just had they say it either gets in your blood or it don't on the first fire. And it did. It got in my blood that night. So I was very fortunate. Within a year, the fire chief called me one day. I was actually doing construction work, which I love to do.
Mm-hmm.
And he called me up and said, "Hey, Ray, you want a job?" And I was like, "Yes, sir, absolutely." So he said, "Put in your notice. You start in 2 weeks." So Robert Yawn and I both, I think, started right at the same time then. But the board of directors at the time had the vision. They knew the county was growing. The Martinez area, it certainly was growing. And so they were adding paid people. At the time, it was heavily volunteer, but they were adding paid people. So anyways, I was very fortunate to get a job, and I've worked here for, a long time, and been very blessed. I've raised
how
a
did
family.
you make the transition we're going to talk about this in a few minutes, but how did you make the transition from firefighter to EMT paramedic? Because those are two different jobs, right?
And that's an interesting story, because the fire service traditionally has a very long tradition, like law enforcement does, very long tradition, adamantly against EMS. That still permeates today. There is a strong anti-EMS type thing in the fire service, but at that time, there was a lot of talk about the fire service merging into EMS. And typically in the fire service, it begins at the big departments, and then it kind of transitions down to the smaller departments. But it was not in the Augusta area by no means, but there was a considerable amount of talk to it when I got paid hired as a paid man. So I really became an EMT to try to. I knew at some point we were going to forced to do that.
Yeah.
So I just said, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I went to EMT school the very early part of 1990, late part of 89, early 90. Nancy Aldridge, who you may know, she was actually mine. I was in her first class. So, so I just made that leap simply because I'd heard so much about the fire service transitioning that. And there's some reasons why the fire service had to do that. So, But so that was my initial. I went to paramedic school because of some calls very early as an EMT. I got to deliver a baby. I had a successful resuscitation. Just waking a diabetic up with a low blood sugar with some sugar water. Those kinds of things were really influential on me. So I wanted to become a paramedic. So I went to paramedic school in 93 and 94. A year-long program at Augusta Tech. It's fairly intense year. And then that's really, I had absolutely no aspirations of college whatsoever in high school. C student, barely burned any energy.
Same.
Had no desire to go to college whatsoever. And it was after paramedic school, I realized, if I just put a little energy into this, if I just burn some calories, I can actually probably do college level work. So that's when the college thing started for me.
And boy, did you. I mean, you're an overachiever, buddy. I mean, you went and you got your undergrad degree, and then you got a master's degree, and I think you went and got a second master's degree, right?
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a lifelong learner. I'm the example of how not to do it, to be honest with you. But I understand why kids go to college.
I did it the same way, Ray. I did the same way. I mean, I put myself through college at 30 years old, raising a family, and then it pays off on the backside. And obviously we're very blessed to have you now in your position, position of leadership and being a chief. I mean, you need that education to be able to support some of that stuff. And you've really done well. You've done well for yourself, which is great. And I know the guys think a lot of you. So let's talk a little bit about last episode. We talked a little bit about the hospital in Columbia County and how big that is for us because, you know well that we have to transport down to Augusta, and they have great services there, but it's a long ride. There's a lot of traffic and a lot of things can happen. And in your line of work, seconds count. Right.
Sure, absolutely.
So every second, every minute counts for us. So having the hospital here is a good thing for Columbia County.
Absolutely.
But I want to talk a little bit about EMS, the history of it, because you mentioned that Columbia County used to have its own EMS. We had a county service. I remember those days. And then sometime after that, we transitioned out of that. And we started contracting, and we currently contract with Gold Cross EMS.
Right.
A lot of people don't realize that. Gold Cross is a private service. We provide a contract to them, and they provide the services for us. And that's an efficiency and economy of scale type thing because it saves the taxpayers money to be able to pay the contract as opposed to having all those employees on. And it may not always be the case, but today it works for us, right? I mean, back in the day, the fire department was private too, and then we brought all the fire guys on, and it worked for us. But so we're looking at these things kind of piece by piece. But when we brought EMS on, when we did the contract with EMS, you mentioned that there was a little bit of a transition for fire departments to start doing EMTs as well. I think we saw the need of making sure that we had some trained personnel too. So you guys kind of started a program to make sure that all of our firefighters were either EMTs or paramedics, right?
Right, yes.
Yeah. Do you remember when that started? What year we started doing that? Well, the year we mandated it. I know a lot of them have had it for years, but when did we make them start doing it?
Doug Cooper was the chief at the time who mandated it.
I remember. I was here. I mean, I was part of it.
Yeah, I know you were. Mandating, I think, was the early 2000s.
It's probably,
or late 90s.
I think it was after the 90s, probably early 2000s.
I think it was the early 2000s.
Yeah, we started doing that, and one of the reasons why we did that was in our mind, it didn't matter if your kid fell down and broke their arm, right? And we called for an ambulance. We only had so many ambulances because the contract only allowed for so many ambulances, and we were a growing county and they were busy. A lot of times a fire truck would roll up, and if a fire truck rolls up and they don't have an EMT or a paramedic, they're not really doing any good. Right. But if they roll up and they have an EMT or a paramedic, they can jump into action, right? Start doing something. So I don't think the homeowner really cares if it's a red fire truck or a white ambulance, right? As long as their kid's getting care, right? So we have how many fire stations in the county now?
15
man stations in the county.
Yes.
And then we have how many ambulances are we running now?
We have 8 ambulances 24 hours a day. We have 2 what I call peak hours
ambulances, right? So 10 ambulances that are kind of working.
Yeah.
But then we supplement those 10 ambulances with 15 fire trucks,
right? Because
we roll fire apparatuses to medical calls, right?
Right. Exactly.
And would you say these days most of our calls are medical or fire?
Oh, overwhelmingly medical. It's probably in the 70 percentile is medical versus fire for sure.
Yeah, yeah. But we still do a good job of taking care of fires too, right? I mean,
absolutely.
I mean, I think our department is so professional. You guys have come so far, and you've standardized it, done so much good work that it's not one of these situations where we're going to have somebody on a medical call and somebody's house is going to burn down. I mean,
right.
We do a good job of kind of mixing those things up. So really our model in Columbia County is to say, okay, we're going to save money by privatizing this and working with Gold Cross, but then we're going to supplement that by having these 15 fire stations that are 24/7 that have trained personnel to be able to come out and provide services. Is that pretty much the way that
Exactly right,
that works?
Yeah.
But we don't transport, right? We don't load anybody on a fire truck and take them to the hospital?
No, we don't. We don't transport, but it's not uncommon for us to ride in with the transport unit.
Right.
So,
Right.
we work really close with Gold Cross.
Yeah.
And I don't want to cut you off, but I
wanna hear
would
it.
like to make this
No, please.
statement
No,
because
this is your time.
I'm fortunate to have been in the fire service for 30 years. I've also been in EMS for 30 years.
Yeah.
So I've seen both sides. I've worked on both sides. I know both sides. There's no doubt in my mind. But when Columbia County had their own ambulance service, the fire service was not involved in EMS medical.
That's right.
We did not respond to medical calls. We may go to a cardiac arrest, or we might go to an unresponsive, but it was we rarely did that. But I worked EMS on that side, so I know that side of it.
Mm-hmm.
I also worked on the fire side. Since then, the fire department first responds to the call, and then EMS Gold Cross, they come to transport. And so we have this, we work together now. So in my opinion, from seeing both sides of this over the years, fire needs EMS as much as EMS needs fire.
Yep.
Especially if we want to improve patient outcomes. I can assure you that patient outcomes are much, much better today because of the way that we do things in Columbia County now. I really do think that.
Yeah, and it's become a model.
I've
Are you
seen
seeing
that.
other communities kind of doing what we're done in Columbia County?
It's very common. Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. So,
but it takes a. We were talking about this earlier. It takes a full structure for this to work, though.
Right.
It takes I do believe that overwhelmingly the taxpayers in Columbia County support what the commission is doing, what the administration is doing, each division is doing. I really do think that.
Mm-hmm.
And, it takes the support from the commission, it takes the support from the administration, it takes the fire administration. All this support structure has to be in place for this to work this well in this county, because there are counties that border us that don't have that. And it doesn't work as well there. It really doesn't. The patient outcomes are not as good.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, that's really what we care about, right?
Exactly right.
It's taking care of the citizens in Columbia County. That's our response. That's our primary responsibility.
Absolutely.
Is public safety of our citizens,
Absolutely.
right? So this is a big deal for us to be able to do something and have a model that works. And we've had to tweak it over the years, and we've kind of
we're going to have to continue doing that. It's not
lots
over.
of conversations. We spent lots of money. We've gone down a certain path and then decided that wasn't the right way. We've gone down another path. And I can remember being in meetings with you, and you're our expert, and I'll throw something out there, and you'll start wringing your hands or rubbing your head, and it's like, that's not going to work, Scott. That's not going to work. And
I have said that, and I was wrong.
But sometimes you were right. Sometimes you were right. I mean, there's times it's definitely us working together to be able to do that, and we appreciate that. But hey, tell me real quick. I want our listeners to understand this. Kind of the difference between what an EMT and a paramedic can do, because we require our people to be EMTs, but you guys are starting to turn out more and more paramedics. And what can a paramedic do that an EMT can't? Why is that important for our citizens to have paramedics?
Well, I think a number of things. Number one, to become a paramedic just requires more education. So I do think that's an important part of just being better at what you do. I do think education, the educational component, no matter what your profession is, the more education you can, more education layers you can have, I think that really helps you be certainly in medicine, it helps you be a better provider. Paramedics tend to be more experienced. They've been through the EMT level stuff. They've worked on the street probably for a few years, and then they go to paramedic school, so that they tend to have some more experience. And medicine is definitely one of those, you have to practice it to get good at it. So paramedics tend to be a little bit more, have some more practice and want to practice it more, so to be better. But there's just higher levels of skills. And, we take care of some very sick people in Columbia County. We really do. Yeah. And some of those people require some very acute, very timely, they need some life-saving interventions done that can only be done at the paramedic level. So
trauma. I mean, you guys push drugs sometimes.
You
have to.
We do, and we're going to be doing blood here very soon. That is a huge deal. Can't say how big that is.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in just a second. I want to get into some of these innovations.
I'd like to get into that, but
sure.
Blood can only be delivered at the paramedic level.
Okay.
Now, and I hate that because, but the dynamics of blood and some of the things that can go wrong with blood, you need that advanced training. You need that advanced education. You need that experience to go along with it. So I think the paramedic level is just elevates our level of care where we can provide better care to the patient and have better outcomes. That is the sole purpose of what we do.
Yep.
Is to if you're in an acute medical crisis, there is no question. All the data supports. The sooner we recognize that, and the sooner we start the interventions for that, your outcome is going to be significantly better. There is no question. Now, if we wait, put you in the ambulance, drive you over to the hospital, and wait till you get to the emergency department, those people do not do as well. There's no question about that.
Right.
When we start the care on the scene, that's where the difference is made.
And we provide a lot of this training in-house. I know that you guys provide that. You've set that up. You do a lot of teaching over the years, and obviously you have 2 master's degrees, so you can teach at the college level if you need to, and you have a lot of experience. But do we pay for that for our employees? I mean, so
we do.
If somebody wants to come to work for Columbia County, can they come to work as a firefighter, and then we pay for them to be an EMT, we pay for them to be a paramedic? I mean,
yeah, when they come to work for us, we're going to put them through fire school, and we're going to put them through EMT school before they even
no cost to them. So if you don't want to go to college and you don't have the money to go to college and you want a career,
go over to Augusta Tech right now and say, hey, I'd like to be a fireman, and I want you to pay me and pay my benefits and give me a uniform and give me all this schooling and education for free. And they're going to like, yeah, you're at the wrong place.
That's not our model.
But,
That's not what they do.
But
we will.
At Columbia County, we do. We hire people right off the street, put them through fire and EMT school. That's the bare minimum. You have to get through that. So yes, we take care of that. We instruct that. Now, we have an agreement with Augusta Tech to send them to advanced EMT school. We encourage them to do that. We don't make them do that. We do incentivize that a little bit. So, but through the agreement with Augusta Tech, it's not actually costing us money. But that's it helps. It benefits Augusta Tech. It benefits us. So it's a nice agreement that we have worked out with them. Paramedic school, on the other hand, is a whole different thing. That's a whole different animal. It's very tightly controlled, and Augusta University is the only location around here that provides that in-house. So we do pay, it's $8,500 per student to go to paramedic school. We do pay for that. Fortunately, again, we have this structure in place, the taxpayer, the commission, the administration, the whole 9 yards to allow us to be able to spend $8,500 per, and I do think it elevates our level of care and improves that patient outcomes. I really do.
So let's talk about those things. I kind of want to finish up. I know we're getting a little short on time, but
I'm sorry.
This is perfect, man. Hey, we'll go. We'll make it 2 episodes if we need to. But hey, tell me a little bit about the new innovations, because Columbia County is doing some things on our fire trucks that, I mean, first of all, we're running paramedics and EMTs on fire trucks, which not everybody's doing. But then not only that, now we've got some new things that we're carrying on fire trucks. And specifically, I want to talk about the Lucas units that we have, the blood you mentioned, and you got a real cool new thing with ultrasound.
Right.
Yeah. So tell me about those things. What are we doing that kind of helps save people here?
Okay. So the Lucas device, really, I'm sure were a part of that. That was with my predecessor, Robert Rozier. I really had nothing to do with that. The funding from that, my understanding, came from a federal grant. Mm-hmm. So, the taxpayer paid for it, but it was at the federal level and not the county level. So the Lucas devices are, they're $18,000 a piece. We have 18 of them. So they're on every fire unit in Columbia County. There are 18 of them out in the county right now as we speak. But they are a compression device used during CPR. Now, they were originally designed to be used in the back of the ambulance transporting a patient in cardiac arrest to the hospital. Those days are gone. Now we work cardiac arrest at the house. So the advantage to the Lucas device for us is once we put the Lucas device on the patient, it's doing the compressions. It does them perfectly.
It's going to beat the heart. The heart's going to beat.
Yeah, exactly right. And that is by far the most critical thing in cardiac arrest.
Yeah.
But it frees up one person.
Right.
And, if you ever done CPR on somebody, it's tiring. You get wore out. So putting the Lucas device frees us up to do other life-saving interventions, and makes the workload easier for everybody. So, and we know that it's providing, that perfect rate, perfect depth compression. So the Lucas device has been a huge help for us.
Yeah,
for
we
sure.
have them on every fire truck. So
Every
if a fire
fire
truck
truck,
shows up at your house, somebody's in cardiac
Right now, there's
arrest, we're
18
going to be
of
able
them out
to
there.
deal with that.
Yep.
Tell me about the blood. This is the thing you came
Yeah,
up with. That was a great idea.
Yeah, the blood is be honest with you, where the blood came from was from Shepherd Blood Center. And I can't say Ben's last name. He's the CEO of Shepherd. You probably know Ben, I'm sure.
I do. They do
super
amazing
guy,
work
super
in
guy.
our community.
Yeah,
Yes.
And we've had a long-standing relationship with him.
Yeah.
Class Act company, don't have a scratch on their record, never had a problem with them. Ben called one day, said, "Hey, I'd like to have a meeting with you and go across and talk about something." I said, "Okay." So went to the meeting, sat down, and Ben said, "We'd like to offer you blood if you would like to carry blood on your units for a transfusion." I like to fell out of the chair when he said that. I really did. So just a huge thing. Blood transfusion has become the main topic in pre-hospital medicine in the last couple of years. It is a huge topic. One of the things that's prevented us from doing is getting access to blood.
Right.
And there's not a single hospital in Augusta that offers blood, and it's hard to get. Shepherd came to us, saying it, and from a reputable company too. It's not like some fly by night that flew in here and said, "Hey, we'd like to give you some blood." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." This is a real deal here. So there's a lot of logistics to it, though.
Right. Got to keep it cold.
Well, you got to keep it cold, and it's got a narrow range. It cannot get out of that range, or it's not any good.
Right.
This is donor blood, so we have to take that serious. So
take care of it.
So I have a refrigerator that we're going to carry, keep the blood in. It's on the way. You have to buy it first, and then they order it. It's kind of strange, but so anyways, the refrigerator. Well, as soon as the refrigerator gets here, we've got the protocols in place. We've got the training in place. There's an approval process through the state. So there's a whole lot of logistics to it, but there is no question, no doubt in my mind that blood is the biggest thing to come to EMS.
It's going to save lives.
Ever in the history.
It's going to save lives, right?
Medicine is evidence-based now. It's not theory-based like it used to be.
Right.
We think this works, so let's try it. Now it is. If it is not significantly, significant, or if it don't at least have some correlation to it, we don't do it in pre-hospital medicine. So there is plenty of data that support that about 40% of the people who are involved in some kind of a traumatic event or have some kind of a significant bleed, if we start this blood transfusion process with them, 40% of those people will do very well at the end.
Wow,
so
that's amazing.
40% is a big number.
Big number.
It really is.
Yeah,
and it's not going to be an overly expensive deal. The upfront cost is the refrigerator's $13,500. And that's a lot of money. Don't get me wrong, but in the grand scheme of things, it's not $1 million either. So the blood itself, Shepherd has made an excellent deal with us on this. As a matter of fact, I was telling somebody about it in another county in the north part of the state. The other day, he said, "Man, that's a phenomenal deal what they're working out with y'all." Yeah. So Shepherd's been the lead on this, and really, I can't say enough good things about Ben over there. They have been tremendous to work with. So
that's awesome. Well, so let's finish up. Last thing, let's talk about ultrasound. That's a new thing we just got here. Tell me about ultrasound. What we're doing there. Are we determining the sex of babies out there in the field?
No, we're not doing that. Okay. As a matter of fact, it specifically says we can't do that.
Okay. All right. So what are we doing?
But that
shows you what
funny.
I know.
Yeah. No, I mean that's a legitimate reason why ultrasound is used, though. But ultrasound is one of those technologies. It's an interesting technology, and I know I'm a little bit long-winded, but it's painless. There's no radiation involved. It's not invasive in the body at all. The cool thing about ultrasound is it uses radio waves to reflect an image onto a screen. In the past, ultrasound machines were very big and bulky, and they were on stands, and they had to be pushed around. And in the pre-hospital fire truck world, that doesn't work. We have to have stuff.
Sure.
Well, technology has improved, like in everything, and now ultrasound devices. Really, the ultrasound device that we have purchased is smaller than my phone.
Wow.
Yeah, and
technology's helping us out.
As a matter of fact, it connects to any phone. It connects to your phone. Okay. So they use the ultrasound. Again, it's about yay big. and the screen, that the reflection of what they're seeing is actually on their phone, and they can record that. So, but ultrasound, I think, is going to be a very common. I think it's going to be as common as glucometers on every ambulance. But right now, it's really tightly controlled, and only a critical care paramedic can use them.
Okay.
We have 2 of those, Scott McAllister and Brett Canty.
Yep.
Which we paid for. It's $3,500 for. Again, I think it's just taking us up another level.
Right.
But they can use ultrasound, and so the ultrasound itself was $5,000. I know that's a lot of money. It's taxpayer money, but Chief,
I got to stop you for a second. I love the way our employees in Columbia County say, that's a lot of money, and we sure do need this. But Scott, I mean, is there, can we do, and I really appreciate that, because you guys are so cost conscious about everything you do, and in the grand scheme of things, it's not really a lot. And I'm not saying that I'm being wasteful of our taxpayer dollars, but you guys are so mindful of that, and I really appreciate how you do that.
I'm a taxpayer too.
That's exactly right. You guys watch it.
I fully understand the taxpayer perspective. So
yeah.
But anyways, it was $5,000, and Scott and Brett have gone out there and used that thing. But the cool thing about it is, and this is how it helps, and I know we're getting close on time, but
you're fine.
This is how it helps. So we go to somebody involved in a car wreck.
Okay.
And we think that they have a collapsed lung. In the past, we used a stethoscope to listen.
Right.
We looked at the patient's vital signs. We looked at their presentation, but we could not see inside their chest. We could not actually see that collapsed lung. Now, based on experience and that kind of thing, we assume that's what's going on. So we take some pretty good sized needles to stick in your chest. Mm-hmm. That is not painless. That's right. That's tough. And so in some ways, we're kind of guessing at whether or not you need that. Ultrasound, however, Scott or Brett can put this ultrasound on. They can see that collapsed lung. Mm-hmm. They're like, they know definitively you have a collapsed lung. So now when we're sticking you with the needle, we know confidently that this is what you need.
Right.
We hate that it hurts, but this is it brings a level of confidence to our treatment. So internal bleeding, this goes hand in hand with the blood. In the past, we've had somebody's involved in some kind of a traumatic event, they're internally bleeding. We can't see that. We can look at their condition. We can look at their vital signs. We can, through our experience, we suspect this may be going on. So we could be giving them blood when they don't genuinely need that blood. But with ultrasound, they can actually see that blood accumulating in their belly, and now we can confidently say, "Listen, they've got to bleed,
right?
And they're headed for trouble. And if we don't stop this,
right,
they're going to be one of that 40% that we could never save."
Right.
So now when we're giving that blood, we can do it confidently, and it's going to improve health outcomes. There's no question about that. And I think ultrasound, the state typically will start at a kind of this higher level of, they start with the highest level of paramedic can only do this, or critical care can only do that. Some things tend to filter down though. Yeah. So with time, so I do think that's going to happen with ultrasound. I do think it's a big deal. I think it's going to be very common. And we are at the leading, very forefront of that.
Yeah.
Because we have this structure in place that allows us to do these kind of new things, whereas, a lot of counties around us don't have that structure in place. They don't have the ability to do these things. So that's one of the issues in EMS is this, some counties support the newer stuff and some counties don't. So,
yeah.
And that hurts. That hurts.
I will tell you that we're blessed to have your leadership. We're blessed to have leadership here with Chief Wallen and Chief Willis, and we have a progressive fire department. We listen to them. And I think that our citizens benefit because of your professionalism and the things that you've done. And I just want to personally say thank you. As I'm getting close to the end of my career. You're getting a little close to the end of the year, too. We've been working together now for 40 years almost. And, I want to say thank you, Ray, for everything you've done for our community and how you continue to work in our community. And thank you to the fire department as well. You guys do great work.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate it very much. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, as promised, we're going to end up with the most ridiculous thing I've heard lately. And last week I talked about paving roads and how we go about paving roads and how we have a scoring system for paving roads and how people think somebody can call and get a road paved. And this week, as luck would have it, I have the exact opposite of that. We have a road that actually met all the specifications, and we are going out there and we're starting to mark the road and get ready for it. And we had a resident actually reach out to one of our commissioners and say, I don't want my road paved. And I just don't understand that. If the road needs to be paved, and this particular citizen indicated that this may be a waste of taxpayer money because there's still construction going on, things being built on the road or whatever, folks. Again, it's so frustrating. It's absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I got one side upset that we're paving roads. I got somebody else upset that we're not paving roads. I got somebody upset we're not paving their road. I got somebody upset that we are paving their road. It's exhausting and it's absolutely ridiculous. We're going to pave the roads that need to be paved according to the scoring, and we're going to continue to do that. And we're not going to waste taxpayer money. We're going to go out there and try to provide the best roads we can, because the folks like Chief Blessing I was just talking to need the ability to be able to get to our citizens, and having good roads is just part of that public safety process. So, the fact that somebody wouldn't want a road paved, what it boils down to, y'all, it boils down to good old-fashioned politics. If you don't like the county and you don't like your elected official, you don't want your road paved. I won't say what I think it's akin to. I'm going to leave that for another time. But as I get closer to the end of the year, Chief, I may start throwing some more things out there. But anyway, I want to thank everybody for listening to this episode of the County Compass. If you have questions about anything you've heard here today, you can always reach out to us through the normal channels. Visit ColumbiaCountyGA.gov. You can reach out to the fire department. You can stop by any fire station that we have. Our guys are out there working. Guys and gals do a great job. You can always go see them. But this wraps up our episode of the County Compass. If you enjoyed it, I ask that you subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and or YouTube. Leave us a review. More importantly, I want to thank you for tuning in and being an engaged part of our community in Columbia County. Your input and participation makes our county stronger. So I will say, stay safe, stay involved, and keep loving this county as much as I do. Take care.
This has been the County Compass, Columbia County's guide to news, voices, and perspectives. Thank you for listening. We appreciate you taking the time to stay informed about the issues, initiatives, and people impacting our community. And we sincerely hope today's conversation helps you better understand the work being done in Columbia County. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. As always, visit Columbia County's official website or social media channels for additional information. And until next time, thanks for tuning in.